And as we saw with the stats, he very much did. Though he's got space down the middle, he hurdles over brothers. It's a foot race that Walker will win. As Edwards chasing for a second time, and the Seahawks extend their lead. Hoping someone can make a play. Find somewhere to throw this ball. It's going right back to the Seahawks. Again, he's trying to scramble. It's here downfield. It goes straight to Bush. Got to get out of this hole as DK will extend their lead. St. Juice dives and make it 28-0. Forcing some plays. Find the end zone, it's Thomas spinning touchdown plays as Bateman gets the snap. We will the way this game has gone, but Newsome, he gets the ball right back for us. Seahawks will get picked off. Guys on him, but he gets some space and he's into the end zone. Young will just step up, he will fumble. 56-21, the Seahawks wipe the floor with us. Steve Smith Sr. stepped in as an interim head coach with his former Carolina Panthers, a team in turmoil. He came in and over the course of several seasons turned this team into a winning program. 43 wins, 42 losses, hovering around that 500 mark, though it was the postseason success that really was the term of Steve Smith Sr. 5 playoff wins, only 2 losses. Winning 70% is not bad, including the Super Bowl dub. And that came through a big overhaul of the roster, both offensively and defensively, as pretty much every single position had key players drafted by Steve Smith Sr. And at least the team that would knock us out of the playoffs would at least make it to the Super Bowl, though the Seahawks did not get the win over the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen finally gets his Super Bowl and his MVP. And today, we will continue the story of some of these key players from this franchise. The offense, only 3 original players: Bryce Young, Chuba Hubbard, and Aquanu. Defensively, it is an entirely new group. Defensive line, linebackers, DBs, not a single player remains. And in our first offseason, some Pro Bowl awards as Chuba Hubbard, Aquanu, and the rookie free safety in Joe Brothers all make it. But on top of that, we also had some yearly awards as Chuba Hubbard took home Offensive Player of the Year. And of course, taking home the Offensive Player of the Year, Chuba Hubbard also would take home Best Running Back. And in no surprise, Joe Brothers took home Defensive Rookie, though a little bit of a surprise was the fact that Carlos Bates so far down on the list. And as the first real bit of the offseason would arrive, some decisions to make. Guys like Bryce Young, who was benched, a 5th-year option for Quincy McCullough, locking down Chuba Hubbard, Rashad Bateman, Jedrick Wills. Tyreek Hill did not retire, though very interested in returning. Benjamin St. Juice, Taylor Murray, Jordan Thomas, a lot of key guys and a lot of key backups as well, including both the starting quarterback options. Now, the first decision would be pretty easy. 5th-year option picked up on Quincy McCullough. The second decision, also pretty easy, as the team would decline to offer anything to Bryce Young. As for Chuba Hubbard, there is some interest there, but he is looking for another Super Bowl. They're going to have to raise the price for him. We'll put in an $8 million offer, and he does enjoy that. And with over $100 million still left in the bank, options for guys like Rashad Bateman to return. Though not wanting it to be a longer-term deal, we would offer a 2-year deal, and he would not be interested. Now for Jedrick Wills Jr. Not much interest coming from his side, not much interest from the Panthers side. He will be another surprise release. And with Bateman moving on, more interest in bringing back Tyreek Hill, though this would be another 1-year deal rather than the 2 he was looking for. But with that extra money, we would raise the offer. Try to make sure we keep our main guy, and we will be keeping Tyreek Hill. Now, another former starter that we would not be offering, Benjamin St-Juste. Don't feel like that one is much of a surprise. He did not play well last season. Now, Taylor Murray, he has an opportunity opening up to see some more playing time. Bonus would be raised, $5 million offer, and he will stay with the team. Now, one player that is someone that could be signed and has interest, and maybe we will go back to him. Jordan Thomas will be moving on from for now. We have Callaway, very similar overall, and Jordan Thomas is going to be 27. Now, as for a few backups that we won't be re-signing, Braxton Fitzgerald, Johnny Beasley, Jamari Sawyer, and Zach Lippett, though possibilities to bring back Lippett in open free agency. And after assessing the quarterback spot, we will offer a small deal here to Daniel Jones. Just a 72 overall, it's a $4.5 million offer. Whether he's the starter, a backup, it's good to have a veteran, and he will return. And in that same step, trying to bring back Tyrone Fulton, though his interest level is very low because he never really got a shot to get any playing time despite the quarterback drama. We will offer a 2-year deal worth $2 million, and that'll be enough to sway his opinion. As for the last few guys, we're not bringing back punter Mark Perkins, backup lineman in Alan Vernon. We did offer to Shakir Sharpton. He didn't like the numbers. He also moves on. And heading into open free agency, positions to look at. Quarterback, definitely see what the options are. On top of that, maybe look for another receiver, a true number one, a position we've kind of lacked throughout this series. On top of that, we also need to keep an eye on the tackle market, as we currently do not have a starter for the right-hand side. Defensively, we could look for a corner, whether it's an outside or slot guy. With Jaquan Cash showing promise on the outside, we now have that flexibility. And the open market would have some big name players. Jahmyr Gibbs, Bryce Young obviously moving on from us, Tucker's up there, Josh Sweat, Wyatt Teller going to be one of the highest rated offensive linemen, though there is also Ronnie Stanley. Both players would probably provide that 1-year fix we were looking for. Past Bryce Young, there is Dak Prescott, a quarterback who could provide us a 1-year stopgap situation, as he is 35 years old. Of course, he's not the complete quarterback which we once knew, but still the ratings are holding pretty strong. And with a quarterback class that doesn't show a whole lot of top tier talent, this could provide the spot we're looking for. Now, that doesn't mean that someone like Aaron Bolden, who would be around the range of which we would be picking, doesn't mean we're not going to go after him, but doesn't force our hand at quarterback. And with no other teams offering Dak Prescott, we don't have to break the bank, but it's still a very sizable offer here, around $35 million for 1 year. As for receiver, Rashad Bateman is the highest available on the market, and I'm not seeing anyone really here that could probably be that true number one option. While I like Michael Wilson, we already have Faust, and they play the same exact way. We need someone else, and I'm not sure we're going to find it here in free agency. Now, similarly to what we did with Dak Prescott and offering that, we'll do here with Ronnie Stanley. It's a 1-year stopgap. Want to make sure we lock him down. We'll offer a pretty good deal. As for that third cornerback option, there is Jameel Dean. It's another older signing. He's 31 years old, but he still has his speed, awareness, play rec. He has press coverage, which again would provide us flexibility. I think this would be a good one to put in, and indeed we will. And with pretty much the entire rest of the roster kind of shored up right now, we'll just be offering these 3, though larger, deals, and we're on top for each of them. As we go through the first round, 2 have decided, and now a lot more people coming in on Dak Prescott. But we did bring in Ronnie Stanley and Jameel Dean. Now going back to the Dak Prescott offer, we have bumped it up, adding $2 extra million to the offer just to try to put us over the edge. We'll make that offer, and that puts us at the top of his options. We will negotiate one more time. He has decided, and it is not to come to Carolina. Instead, he goes to the Tennessee Titans. On top of that, Bryce Young has also moved on to go to the LA Rams. So then what is next for us here at quarterback? Well, we could try to push for someone like Norman Austin, or from the Buccaneers, Ramon Aragon. Both players looking for their second chance as their first landing spot did not pan out. Now, neither of these two quarterbacks provide us that running ability. We would have that with Prozinski, but you're not going to have some of that same throw power. 89 compared to mid to lower 90s. But you will have some slightly better short accuracy. Overall, you're not getting a fully developed quarterback either way. And with us having Daniel Jones and Tyrone Fulton, maybe now we sit and see what happens in the draft. Now, as the final bit of draft information would flow in, we would find what we suspected. These top 5 quarterbacks very much are not. Howie Winkler went from top 5 to a round 3 to 4. However, the guy we've been taking a look at, Aaron Bolden, he went down to a round 2 to 3, but that true talent is still the round 1 to 2 we saw earlier. Honestly, he reminds me a bit of Bryce Young coming out of college. But he has that mobility, and on top of it, he's got good throw power. The accuracies, while the medium and deep are going to be a work in progress, he's got short accuracy. He can throw under pressure. Throw on the run isn't too bad. It's got awareness, a lot of really good ratings here, and I think he's going to be at a spot of which we could pick him up. Now, past the quarterback spot, these receivers, very similar to the quarterbacks, none of them really panning out to look all too great. Emmett Bond, who was supposed to be the #1 receiver, round 1, he's actually around 2 to 3. You can see the same with Trey Elam. So not sure we're going to find that true #1 receiver from this class. Though we could find another tight end to add to the group, and there are several that I like, but a couple options late. As obviously we'll be focusing a little bit more on the quarterback spot early. Jamie Dixon, a vertical threat out of Oregon. There's even a possession archetype in Justin Harper out of Harvard. Both day 3 talents, both could be pretty fitting, and they look very similar to Carlos Copeland, who's around 2 to 3, so value sits late. If we want to look for someone to eventually replace the newly signed Stanley, well, at guard, there's some options to flex out to tackle. DeAndre Brewer, round 2 to 3, could be a pretty good option for us in that second round. If we're trying to replace some depth, Chester Smith here out of West Virginia at center, a power archetype, very much fits with our offense. And someone who potentially has a really high ceiling, though a lot of uncertainty, Joe Trahan out of South Carolina. A lot of A's at the top, but they could drop to C's. We also could use some depth for the defensive line. Over in the mid-rounds, Adrian Muldrow out of UCLA. He's got some decent options here. Hopefully some block shedding comes with that. He could be a good option in the middle round. Not that we need any more, but there are some later round linebackers that could very well match a lot of the other linebackers we have. And then for corner, if we were trying to find someone to build for the future, well, in the early rounds, there are some solid options. When you get into the mid rounds, there's not a whole lot, but there's some interesting kind of players like Bramble. He looks to be very solid just across the board, but nothing really stands out. Same really goes for Hughes. Dion Williams is going to come in with fantastic press and zone, but we're more of a man, so interesting prospect, doesn't quite fit. Jalen Carman, another guy who's very just solid across, nothing exactly stands out, but for depth, I think that would be perfectly fine. There's also a good amount of free safeties, strong safeties, if we were to look for depth. And right now, the mock draft has us going with exactly what I think we will be doing. Aaron Bolden. We know the talent range is around 1 to 2. We're picking 26 overall. I think that would be a perfect spot to find potentially our next quarterback. So with that, we are jumping straight in, and there will be no trading here. If he's there, great. If not, we have a quarterback, a veteran quarterback in Daniel Jones that we know can win some games. So let's move to our pick and see if we are finding our quarterback. And it just so happens he is sitting there top of the QB field. So no drama at all to get us going here. Aaron Bolden, your next Carolina Panthers quarterback, is a hidden dev. Coming in with 89 speed. I think that might even be more than what Bryce Young had. 91 throw power. We're not going to force him out there, but if he's ready to play, he's going to play. Now into the second round, not a lot of options. Really comes down to two players, and I think we've narrowed it down to one, and Antoine Foote. 6'3", 303, 21 years old. He played left guard at Penn State. However, we're thinking he's more of that tackle of the future. All in all, he had a pretty solid combine, and he is a pass protector, though the running game isn't that far behind, but definite work to do, and it would be a good thing because he could sit behind Stanley for a year while he works on those weaknesses. So Antoine Foote will be our second round pick. He's a normal dev, 87 strength. He's got some acceleration, but I feel like he should be a good size for the outside. Now into the third round, where we have a lot of picks. We have just a lot of picks in general in this class, though we'll be definitely offloading some of those late round picks for future capital. But we have the 13th, 24th, and 26th pick of this third round, and there are a few players I like. Adrian Muldrow, talked a little bit about him. Jump down the list here. There's a corner as well that I have some interest in Darion Bramble. And then to finish off the list, all these guys going to be depth rotational guys, but Joey Hooks. Some depth for the safeties, which we don't have a whole lot of. I like all of these guys. I'm hoping that they're all around as we move down, but I think the biggest need right now is going to be backup for the defensive line. So Adrian Muldrow will be our next selection. He's got a lot of ratings that, you know, they're not starter, but they could definitely progress. But he's a phenomenal athlete as well, and having that be your backup third pass rusher, I am perfectly happy with. It's a normal dev, 78 speed, 84 strength. He'll be getting snaps both left and right end. Now, unfortunately, the corner we were going to go after did go as we move to our next pick. So there is a day 3 that we might pick up in Demarius Hughes. It's not a forced pick for us at all. Really just looking for good depth for the future, and I think the next one will be Joey Hooks. A strong safety. He's on the shorter side, but he's a hybrid style guy. Maybe he could even play a little bit of corner as well. He's got the man coverage. There should be a little bit of zone mixed in there. He could tackle. He might be a guy who could play the slot. Either way, he's got versatility. That's great for a backup, as he's a normal dev with 90 speed, 90 acceleration, some pretty good agility, change of direction, and honestly, strength is not bad at all. Now with our third option for this round gone in that corner, it's not a position of need, but the talent is just sitting here, and we weren't able to re-sign Sharpton. Plus, we have Hartwell going into his last year of his contract. We already signed our other two linebackers to big contracts. Chris Randolph could fill in a future need for us. 6'3", 230 out of Vanderbilt. He's 22 years old. He's not the fastest of linebackers, but he comes with pretty good strength, a little bit of some power mixed in, pretty good agility, acceleration. But he's got A man, B zone, A awareness with A hit power. Injury is maybe a little bit of a concern. Block shed is unknown, but there's a very high ceiling here if he could reach it. Chris Randolph is our next pick, a normal dev with 87 speed, not bad at all for a linebacker. He's got the acceleration, strength is there. That is another linebacker for us to develop. Now into the fourth round. There are 3 players I have my eye on, though we have a big gap in between our picks in this round. I'm looking to fill out a couple needs, depth needs, and tight end is one of those. Jamie Dixon, Justin Harper, talked a little bit about them. Now these two very similar. The big difference, Dixon is 23, while Harper is 21. Now Dixon, there's a lot of ratings we do know. but some of the ratings we do know aren't very good. Impact block, short route running, spec catch, those are all Ds. Injury is A to B, that's good. The run blocking, catching traffic, those are all Bs. But when you look at Harper, again, 21 years old, they're very similar athletically, though I will say Harper is a good bit slower. But more uncertainty with these ratings. But if they're on the higher side, they're better. Or if they're about even, he's 2 years younger. And by the time he gets to 23, he could be that better player. Because of that, I think I'm going to go with Justin Harper here. And he is a normal depth, 80 speed. Not bad for a tight end, 73 strength. We've got a tight end 3. Now, unfortunately, the guy I was wanting to go with our next pick, who was a day 3 talent, was the center in Carter. He has gone. So we are out one of our best available depth offensive linemen, as the board across is looking pretty thin. So let's go to the defensive side, trying to find some more depth truly this time at the cornerback spot versus a safety who maybe could play. We got Jalen Carman. He's got, you know, a little bit of athleticism, a little bit more on the stronger side. He's got that press as a B, zone and man both at a C. He has B catching, might be able to force some turnovers, and he's doing it at a really good size too. Our archetype size for our corners, 6'3", 207. Some depth added here, normal depth, 87 speed, 90 acceleration. And I think we've done plenty of drafting, no more players I have interest in, so trading hauls of day 3 picks. We're going to trade for the Minnesota Vikings to bring in next year's 3. And with our last few picks, we'll trade with the Eagles, and we'll get a 5 next year and the year after. And overall, this would be a pretty good draft class. Led, of course, by future quarterback Aaron Bolden, a 73 hidden dev. And he's coming in with 83 short with some medium and deep accuracy that needs a little bit of some work. Awareness also could use a little bit, but there's break, sack, some good speed mixed around, plus some pretty good injury ratings. We're not going to throw him into the starting lineup right away. He'll be able to prove himself in preseason. And similarly, will be the same with Antoine Foote, a 74 true overall normal dev, and he's definitely got the pass block ratings, need to work on the run blocking for sure. He will sit behind and be essentially a replacement for Zach Lippett. As for the rest of the class, they all look like they're going to be depth. Maybe at best we'll get into that rotational, though there is Chris Randolph, who looks like he could potentially have the ability to once somewhere down the line break into that starting lineup. Again, he's got a little bit of some cover ability. He's got a little bit of some block shedding. He may eventually take over for Hartwell. And preseason would not go extremely well here for us, as we would not win a game. But really, this is all about seeing the individual performances. And for our rookie quarterback in Aaron Bolden, he had a pretty solid time out there. Though he did not get any touchdowns, he also didn't have any turnovers. He completed 73% of his throws for 273 yards. Now, we did not have Daniel Jones play. Instead, we gave Tyrone Fulton an opportunity to show what he could do. And his completion percentage was less than 50, and he was 50-50 on if his throws were touchdowns or interceptions. Rushing the ball, Barry 3.4, only 2.6 for Ball. Aaron Bolden did run around a little bit, and he did score a rushing touchdown. At receiver, we gave it all to the young players. See what they could do, and Glenn Faust showed that he truly is the best of the bunch of the young group, and he'll continue to at least go back into the starting spot, now taking over for the role of Bateman. We also gave some playtime to Timmy Aldridge, second-year player. He looked pretty solid. Taylor Murray, the new start at slot. And Junior Chason was given another opportunity to show what he could do. But I still think he's not going to be in this starting lineup. Jameek Ball did get a receiving touchdown, as well as Madison Boston. Defensively, Hodgins led us in tackles. We had a lot of TFLs for Castaneda. Sack-wise, not much. Only 2 through 3 games. Castaneda had the full. Bates and McCullough split. Interceptions, we had 1 from Newsome. And of course, Cole Ford, 100% through the preseason. Now, in corresponding preseason moves, we had to send most of these guys to the practice squad, and Will Clark was a backup for us last year. We just drafted Carmen. He's headed to the practice squad. Ford practice squad. We did release a backup defensive lineman. We were essentially replaced him with the drafting of Muldrow. We did send a couple more offensive linemen to the practice squad. Released James Walden, a backup tight end with no run blocking skills. Not going to fit with this offense. Cassidy Cox, receiver, did go to the practice squad. We found a hidden dev fullback in Tyrell Childs. Tried him out at tight end. He fit better at fullback. He's going to the practice squad. Expect him to be picked up. And then we also sent to the practice squad running back Josh Day. And heading into the season, this is our starting lineup. Not much has changed from last year. Really, the only difference is Bateman no longer here, and we have a new starting right tackle in Ronnie Stanley. Defensively, again, nothing really changing. Newsome, though, I believe he went up from a superstar. He's now an X Factor. Cash is a superstar. The DB group is looking really good. We added Dean. Defensive line stays the same. Linebackers stay the same, and we are ready to get the season going, and it's against the Bengals. Looking to kick the season off in a strong way. The offense drives and scores, but the defense gives it up. It's a big battle here, back and forth, that the Bengals will take into the second half with a strong lead. We finally get a field goal, but the Bengals might prove too much, and they will. 24-17. We couldn't put together one more drive. And the season following our loss in the playoffs starts 0-1. And in the following week, it wouldn't be good as divisional play would open up in a 28-14 loss. So far, the offense has struggled to really get going. Mac Jones, though, he's throwing accurately 75%, as we saw both quarterbacks for the Falcons play in this one, and, well, they both helped them get the win. Bijan Robinson, 2 touchdowns, over 100 yards. Meanwhile, Chuba Hubbard, average good, not a whole lot of yards there. Justice also scored on us. Barry did check in, and he picked up a touchdown. Madison Boston led us in yards. Pitts for them, who did get in the end zone. Faust for us. But it was all in a losing effort. And if 0-2 wasn't bad enough, make it 0-3 in a narrow loss to the Cardinals, 24-21. Daniel Jones, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, only 60% completion. We did get a pick on Kyler Murray, but he completed 76% of his throws. Chuba Hubbard, a better day outside of a fumble. Washington did rush 2 touchdowns on us, and Barry once again back in the end zone. Receiving wise, Justin Jefferson had a good day. Faust led us this time, and just not much from anyone else. Tyreek Hill, though, 2 touchdowns off of 2 grabs. And at this point, media's wondering, is it Daniel Jones? Is it the team? Well, Jones' stats haven't been that bad. It's the team who needs to step up, both offensively and defensively. But would they be able to do that against the Seahawks, who knocked us out of the playoffs last time? And we'd be jumping into this one to see if we could get it going on the right foot. Defense gotta stop offense's first drive. Chuba Hubbard is stacked up. That's what we saw a lot in that previous game. On 2nd and 9, Jones would look to air it out instead. Try to see if they could find something going. As he would roll, he gets it out to Faust, who does pick up the first. The Seahawks forced us into throwing early in the playoff game, looking for some revenge, as Chuba Hubbard will finally pick up some rushing yards. He slips a couple tackles, make a gain of 7. Definitely the offense trying to feel out their passing game early, see if it could be a little bit more impactful than it was last year, as Daniel Jones, the veteran quarterback, rumbles into plus territory. He picks up 12. The offense will get right back to it. Seahawks staying off the line here. Trying to set up the screen to Chuba Hubbard. Let him go to work in open space. We'll pick up 8. And we'll see how much the rotation happens at that spot this year with the running backs. Chuba stays out in what was essentially Barry's spot last year, but he takes a swing pass to the outside, turning up and down inside the red zone. Daniel Jones, a perfect 3 of 3 to get going. As we come out with a tight set. Looking to throw the ball, needs somewhere to go. We got our tight end Callaway, who's going to leak out. He'll pick up 5. Of course, he took over for Thomas, who decided he did not want to return. Now 3rd and 5 as time is running out here in the quarter. It's swung out to Boston, who cannot get the first. But that would bring an end to the first quarter. Quickly getting back out to start the second. RPO dialed up, and we will hand it down the middle to Chuba, who got stuffed. The running game continues to be a problem here against the Seahawks. So we'll jump forward from there. This time a very defensive game as we're approaching the 2-minute warning. It's still 0-0, 3rd and 9 in plus territory. They cover it well. Jones, he looks to the rumble, picking up the first down. Now we just have to finish off the drive at the 31. 2 spread to the left, 1 to the right. As Jones will look to air out the ball. He's got Tyreek across the middle, threads it in between the safeties and linebackers down to the 16. 7 of 8 so far, and we're keeping it rolling. As we go Chuba, he's got space down the middle. First down to the 4. Averaging just under 4 yards a carry. Coming out with a heavy tight end set, though, looking to throw. It's going to be a delayed release here from the rookie in Harper. See if he can find a little bit of some space, or instead pass rush down the gut. McLaughlin with the sack, dropping him back to the 11. Now this offensive line is a veteran group and expect more from them. It did struggle against the Seahawks pass rush in that postseason appearance. 3rd down, Boston cuts, diving, he gets the catch, and we would take the lead, make it 7-0. And the offense would just keep on having appearances. Defense has shut down the Seahawks in this one. 3rd and 3, it's Chuba picking up that first down inside the 15. If only we put together this kind of performance last time we were out here, well, we still might be in the playoffs, but it's a whole different season as we've got Boston again. He's down inside the 5, down at the 4. He's already racked up 4 catches today. Obviously had the touchdown last time we were out here. We bring out Barry, Winter's motions. It's the power group who will stretch it to the outside, and Barry will dive across. We've taken a big lead here in Seattle. But leads don't always last. Seahawks have come back here now with 2 minutes left. We bring the blitz. They pick it up. They swing it out. A spin. We'll get by the first tackle attempt. Brothers with the tackle. And it's our defense who has the chance here to really try to correct from their poor play the last time we saw them against the Seahawks. But it's Dulcich making plays again. The leading receiver from that divisional round. But of course we can't miss on the play that Riles had. Deadly accurate. Defense needs to force some big plays as it's downfield. Newsome can't come away with it. Tips it away from Tank Dell. Just a minute 27 remaining. Trying to find our first win on the season, as it's going to be a dump off to their running back, who will gain 5. They've got a new guy there at running back. Kenneth Walker injured in this one. As Seahawks still looking to air it out. Away with a big sack. Loss of 13 as it calls their second timeout. Just a handful of plays left here to get our season back on track. It's a pistol set. Riles looking to throw to the flat. They had a lot of success in the dump-offs last time out. How many times are we going to talk about that game? Probably a lot, especially with it being the last of the every game part of this series. Now 3rd and 15. Chance to get off the field. Diving swat comes up empty, and there goes Metcalf to tie the game. We had the tackle attempt, we had the swat attempt, both come up empty. Now with 40 seconds and the GOAT at kicker, we need around the 45 to be sure. Single high safety. Quick throw, we got Madison Boston. Really good read there from Daniel Jones. As we get back to the line quickly, preserving those timeouts because I guess why not? Snapping the ball with 20 seconds, pass rush picked up, it's Boston again, down inside field goal range as the first timeout is called. Now trying to learn a little something from the state-only challenge that was yesterday. We bring out the run game to set up the field goal attempt. We'll let the clock roll down. And with 2 seconds left, Cole Ford for the winner for the sweet, sweet revenge. We take down the Seahawks, winning our first game on the season, and hopefully that's the catalyst to get us back dominant, as we've seen this team be so many times before. Or at the minimum, it would provide a breakout opportunity for one of our receivers in Madison Boston. Receiver slash tight end. If he could get 3 touchdowns and 150 yards in his next game, he is moving on up. But it just wouldn't be coming in a win. 35-21. The offense yet again struggling, while the defense also having its own issues. Justin Herbert, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Daniel Jones, though, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Both quarterbacks put together a good game. And it seems to be the run defense struggling for us this year, as 2 rushing touchdowns for Ruggs, 1 as well from Herbert, only 4.4 for Chuba Hubbard. Receiving, though, it was a good game from Taylor Murray. Unfortunately for Madison Boston, he came up nowhere close to his breakout opportunity. Tyreek Hill did get in the end zone as well. So at this point in the season, with it being the defense giving up quite a lot of points, I wanted to see where we're going wrong. And in terms of yardage, we're actually slightly below average on how many passing yards we've given up. But we have been the 5th worst when it's come to run defense, with which was one of the best run defenses in the league last year. And with that, we're giving up also the 5th most amount of points. Sack-wise, about league average. We have not forced any fumbles, and we've only forced 2 interceptions, leaving us very much around the middle of the pack, roughly, if we're going with ties. So while it's hard to gauge what is going wrong with the defensive line, we could see where we're getting those tackles for a loss. And the edge guys are getting them. We see Castaneda here. Bates has only recorded 2, though he's had 2 sacks. Meanwhile, Castaneda has only had 1, so maybe it's just some growing pains of early season. But after facing that scrutiny, the defense would answer immediately in a 14-7 win against the Buccaneers, finally picking up a win in division. And this should be against a new quarterback here, or not actually. Surprisingly, the Bucs did end up re-signing Ramon Aragon. We also saw the first career pass of Aaron Bolden in this game, as I'm assuming it was a fake field goal throw, which did go for a gain of 5. On top of that, Daniel Jones also threw his first interception of the season. Rushing the ball, Cliff Moss and both Chuba Hubbard had a really good game, but it was Jameek Ball who actually got the touchdown. Barry also had 7 carries. It was just a heavy run game in this one. With that, no receiver really stood out. Tyreek Hill did get in the end zone, but we also gave one up to Luke Musgrave. And what's even more impressive is the defense only allowed 7 points despite not picking up a single tackle for a loss or a sack. Interceptions, though, it was Greg Hodgins. And the boys would follow that by getting our first win streak of the season, as we would take down the Saints the following week, 28-26. It was a close game. Aaron Schmidt had 3 touchdowns, Daniel Jones had 2, though keeping his game clean, which is why he has stayed in at quarterback. Chuba Hubbard, Less than 4 yards rushing. Barry, he gets in the end zone, but we kept their running game very minimal. As for receiving, Olave, though, he had a good game. Madison Boston back in the end zone, as well as Tyreek Hill with a copy-paste stat line between the two. And way down here, we do see a touchdown for Jamie Cruz and James Cook. But also in this game, we saw our first drafted player hit 90 overall. Earl Stockton has become a phenomenal player here throughout. The ratings are looking great. Unfortunately, he did lose his, what I'm pretty sure was a superstar dev last year. He's down to a star, but he's still the 4th ranked linebacker in the league, and honestly, he probably deserves more accolades than that. Now, as we would advance through essentially the middle core of the season, we would see overall mediocre play. A 24-21 loss to the Lions, 24-21 win against the Saints, 17-14 win against the Rams, and then the losing streak started with a 42-24 loss to the Broncos, 21-13 to the Eagles, and 24-17 to the 49ers. That leaves us with 4 games left, and we are 5 games out of first in the division, essentially meaning that this season, unless we win out and squeak into a wild card spot, is not going where we were hoping, which was back to the playoffs. So with us needing to make a decision come this offseason on if Aaron Bolden is this team's future, I think it's time that he gets his first career start. Daniel Jones put together a solid time out here. 18 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 65% completion. It's very just field general. But we need someone to elevate this offense, bring back that passing game, mix it with a good rushing game. Though Chuba Hubbard has not had that many touchdowns this year, his carries still 4 yards plus an average. Perfectly happy with that. But we've got a lot of talent to also sort out here with the receiving group to see if that is another position group that we need to address. So let's jump through these next couple games. We'll watch bits and pieces, and we'll see if Aaron Bolden is our quarterback of the future. And of course, you know we're playing the first drive with him. We're starting with an RPO. We can either hand it off or we can throw it. And he will choose to hand it off as Chuba will pick up about 5, though a flag comes down. Holding on Taylor Winters, the fullback having to play tight end, as actually all but Boston for our tight end group is out, so forcing a throw early on here. As Bolden, he's got the slant to Faust, who gets the catch. He takes a pop, and that's the lost yardage back. Now Bolden's accuracies are best short. It's medium and deep that he starts to get a little bit questionable, but he has seen some development at that spot, though can't escape the pass rush. Vita Vea with the sack. And we've already talked about the offensive line in the last watch game that should be better, but you know, pass rush, it's going to happen no matter who you have. But we got a speedster in Murray. It's a catch by the 50. He looks for the juke. Down to the 35 goes Murray, the leading receiver, gain of 42. And it's a pretty good ball from Bolden. Sticking with a spread look, though, under center. See if we can find the other speedster downfield. Or not. Sack Rivers. That time Ronnie Stanley, the culprit of giving it up. 2nd and 18. We go spread empty. Now don't forget, Bolden has a lot of speed as well, but he's not using it to escape the rush. Back to back for Rivers. And for Bolden, he's getting his welcome to the NFL experience. Rain game, 3rd and 30. As pass rush again smacks him down. We'll have to punt. Now, luckily, as we jump forward, really just focusing on Bolden in this one. Defense got a stop, and we are down inside the 10. Looking for the first career touchdown for Bolden as he scrambles. He finds the gap, and there it is. Aaron Bolden, first-round draftee in the end zone. And we'll keep this one moving along. Into the second quarter now. We've got a 3rd and 2 around midfield as Chuba does not get the first down. 4th and 1. But Bolden is being bold here. He says, no, coach, we are going for it. It's a 3-man front. As they go with the read option, there goes Bolden, that 89 speed, picking up the first down. Can't say he's done anything crazy so far, but simple plays, and they're working. And sometimes they don't. It's really all we ask for as we find Winters. Well-timed throw, stepping in at tight end as mentioned. It was either that or sign someone from a practice squad and have to release someone, so we're giving Winters that opportunity. Some play action to follow. As he's got Boston to the outside, he misses that one. That's that down the field throwing that starts to go a little awry for him. As we go Chuba, it opens up inside the red zone as he lowers the shoulder. Offense striving to find a little bit more of a balanced attack this season and use that to build towards the future. We got some corner routes here as it is just tossed up as pass rush was arriving. We may need to continue working on this offensive line if we keep seeing that pass rush. Good stop from behind as Rivers, with multiple sacks today, he's shaken up. Always hate seeing injuries, especially for guys who are key to even our opponent. As it's a checkmate from Bolden. Looks like he's shortening a route out there. Just needs to pick up the first down. He's got Faust across the middle, though throwing behind. Tried to keep it safe. Nearly picked. 4th and 6. It's a field goal for the Panthers. Now with about 30 seconds left, back in range for a touchdown. This time, can we find it? We got a couple timeouts. As we roll, we've got Hill wide open. On the run there, it's not an accurate throw. We're definitely still seeing some growing pains here from Bolden. He's not a polished quarterback yet. Does he have potential? Sure. As he looks to scramble again here, he picks up blocks downfield and he finds his 2nd touchdown all on the ground. That 89 speed coming through. And so is the defense. As we jump into the second half, midway in the 3rd quarter, we got a 3rd and 5. Setting up the screen. This time we find some blocks out in front. Chuba Hubbard, he gets a stiff arm, though, then takes the hit from White. Down to the 34. Now just trying to see if Bolden can get a touchdown with his arm. We continue this drive. Tight set. Looking to continually air out the ball as that time he squeezes it into Hill. Down inside the 15. As the offense will get right back to it. This time going Chuba Hubbard. As we approach 3 minutes now in this quarter, down the middle, Chuba lowers the shoulder again. He picks up 5. Giving him plenty of options here is Bolden with a bunch to the right-hand side. Boston to the left. Chuba also going out on a route as he takes it to the flat. Murray can't hold on. It's the former Panther in Brown who actually gets the breakup. 3rd and 5. It's Hill passing touchdown. 3rd total on the day for the rookie in Bolden. A pretty impressive start, but now trying to hold off a late game comeback. Buccaneers have rallied 24-21. 2.5 minutes left here in this one as Chuba finds a lane right down the middle following Carvey. First time for Bolden in the hydraulic press offense. Just trying to run some clock while keeping pressure up. Chuba, though, he's stacked up. It'll be a no gain as it's a timeout called by the Buccaneers. RPO to follow. As we go back down the middle, Chuba Hubbard, he weaves and gets very close. 2nd timeout called. And to put the game away, Winters and Barry check on in. Right down the middle, that will do it. And in his first career start, Bolden can take the final kneel. All in all, a pretty impressive performance, but we need to see him be able to consistently do that over the last couple games. But as the next couple games are not anywhere close to a win, 35-7 over the Falcons and then 24-17 against the Raiders, does not quite look like Bolden was able to live up to expectations set in that first game. He would not throw a touchdown nor interception the next game, though only completed 53% of his passes. He ran the ball a little bit, nowhere near as effective. in the Raiders game. He would get back on the scoreboard. It was a better game. He threw 1 touchdown, completed 62% of his passes. No interceptions though, and he ran a little bit more successfully, but nothing really eye-catching. So with 1 more week left to go against the Chiefs, let's see if he can wow us in the season finale. Now we are jumping in here late on in the first half. We are down 17-0. The snow has not been favorable here for Bolden, though he takes the quarterback draw and he picks up the first down. A pretty gutsy call there on 3rd and short. Changing up the look here as we're around 30 seconds left. Bolden having to step up again. Offensive line not protecting. Now on top of this also being a showing for Bolden, we're taking a look at some of the younger receivers as well. Howard and Aldridge out there, as we've also had some injuries. Hill just sitting out, but we got 3 seconds left. It's a shot for the end zone to see who can get there, who can make the play, and to see what Bolden can do. Facing some pressure, it's out for Boston, and it's put on him. A beautiful throw by Bolden. And a strong end to that first half. We get on the board. And as we get into the second half, it's a 3rd and 3. Trying to crawl our way back into this game. We're down 17-9 now. As we've got Faust, he's sitting wide open. Accurate ball. And we'll keep this thing moving. At the 34, we go 2 spread either side. Bolden. Just got to find somewhere to go, or he can scramble with it. Tried the juke, fighting through some tackles. He takes some contact along the way. Young guy trying to prove himself here, heading into an off season of which there is a decent quarterback class. Of course, we'll take a look at that in the next Futures episode. But for now, Bolden trying to do his part here in crafting our future, and if this team can get back to the playoffs. Having to step up again. He's got a receiver downfield. He finds Howard, who finds the end zone, crossing the plane, but a flag is down, and it looks like this one is coming back. Bolden crossed the line before he threw it. Well, an unfortunate play. Still don't want to take away the play. It was a well-ran play. He unfortunately just took too many steps forward. Now coming across, getting this one to Aldridge. It gets picked off. The veteran-ing McDuffie takes it away. Can't put that on Bolden, though. It was a one-on-one. Just a better play made by the veteran. Now 3rd and 4 as we're into the 4th quarter. Once again, needing to pick up a first down. The pass is off as Ronnie Stanley's shaken up. So that'll bring out the other rookie in foot. Give him some time out on the field. As it's 4th and 4, hard count, no one jumps. Just need to pick up that first down, and it's nearly picked and nearly caught for the first down. It's still a turnover on downs. So with the season coming to an end in a couple minutes here, 24-9, not looking like it's going to be a win here in Week 18. But another chance to see what Bolden can do. As he has a receiver open, he kept Boston in bounds, but Boston didn't keep himself in bounds. That's a throw that I'm not going to discredit Bolden. That's where it needed to be. Keep his guy in play. As Chuba Hubbard, he gets the step. Placed well, he can run with it. Crossing midfield to the opposite 46. That'll take us inside the 2-minute warning. Only 3 timeouts left. Who can make the final big plays here? As it's just going to be a toss. Get it out to Howard. He's going to pick up 4. We didn't get to see a lot of Howard during our full watch portions. He was always kind of stuck at the bottom of the roster. We had so many guys to play the slot, and that's where he fit best. Driving this one in, we go to Aldridge. Not able to break away, gets the catch though in tight coverage. Offense will keep on moving here. Looking for the end zone from the 25. Also Bolden a threat to run if need be. It's out for Faust, and it's a step or two too far. Though good coverage along the way. Interested to see what the stats look like at the end of this one. Bolden on 2nd and 10. He's going to roll to the right-hand side, pick up a block. It's 1v1, and he gets tackled down at the 5. Well, he's got the speed, the lateral quickness, maybe not as much. RPO here, 1st and goal. As it's swung out to Howard, it's a little high. Takes away any run after the catch, timeout call. And I'll make it 2nd and goal at the 6, as it's a 3-man front. They know we're trying to pass the ball. Trying to get an eye on what our quarterback can do. Well, he can scramble as well, but that will wrap out the season. All in all, not a great one, coming off of what was an interesting season last year. Plenty of good signs. This year, those signs not there as much. Play could come down to the quarterback spot and also just some things that might need to be changed. But before we end the season, some things we could look to take care of. Some signings before the offseason. Greg Newsome, he doesn't have a lot of interest. Britton Hartwell, I didn't expect him to have much. Owe doesn't have much. A lot of guys here, key guys. There's not a lot of interest with how last season ended and how this season went. It's going to be interesting to see what we do moving forward. But we could use week 18 as a gauge for what we will have to pay in the offseason to keep around Greg Newsome. He's just looking for a 1-year deal. I would prefer more of a 2-year deal. Not a lot of interest. We could bump up the dollars a little bit here as we have plenty of space. 2 years, $22 million. But he wasn't looking to return. We're tempting him with the offer, so we'll be able to continue that in the offseason. As for Odafe Owe, would love to keep him around as well. A lot of these guys are going to require a good paycheck. 3 years would probably take him to where we would look to move on from. So 3-year deal is offered, but we'll need to do more to convince him this is where he should finish his career. Now, surprisingly, Max Clifton, he doesn't have much interest, and this is a guy who we have tried to mold throughout his time with us. We're going to offer him a good deal here. 4 years, $8 million per season. And that one, he will sign. Another key guy, similar to Clifton, a guy we've tried to mold, James Castaneda. Would like to keep him around as well. We'll go 16.5 per season for 4 years. He was looking for a better fit, but he'll reconsider with more offers like this. Now, one player I would really like to keep around, Brian Berry, who could be the successor to Chuba Hubbard if he stays around. We'll offer him 5.5 per season for 4 years. That one is another signing. And one from one of the original drafts, I believe, Jerome Sweat. Would love to keep him around as well. He has interest. We'll make it a 3-year deal here for him, and he will stick around. As for the rest of these, plus the 5th-year option for Edwards, we'll head to the offseason with them. And one move we will have to make in next episode, which will be a much more future episode, less in-season action. We're going to have to find a new offensive coordinator as he has moved on. In his final year with us, we were only the 28th ranked offense. Defensively, though, still much better, remaining like last year, top 10. As for the individual stats, nothing really shows from either of these quarterbacks that they deserve outright the starting spot moving into next year. Aaron Bolden went 1-3 in his starts, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, completed just 55%. Rushing, Chuba Hubbard went back over 1,000. Not as dominant of a season as he's used to, but the offense changed this year. 6 touchdowns, he did have 1 fumble. Barry had 6 touchdowns as well, just far less carries and yards. We'll figure out a good rotation between these guys moving forward. And then receiving, Taylor Murray. Would have had more yards, but he did get injured, I want to say in week 16. He missed the last 2 games. He led us 766 yards, 6 touchdowns. Faust, I think it's all right numbers there again. Quarterback play wasn't great, so we're not going to see great play from receivers. Though for Boston, I'm glad he got a little bit more involved this year. Blocking wise, offensive line did pretty well. Across the board here, of course, while we were in, we saw some pass rush. That's just Madden, it happens. Defensively, Greg Hodgins, 140 tackles. Stockton, 110. Tackle for a loss leader was Quincy McCullough, 18. 17 for Castaneda, 14 for Bates. Owe didn't have his strongest season, and we didn't rack up a whole lot of sacks. 6 from Bates led us, 5.5 for both McCullough, Owe, and Castaneda. So just not a whole lot there. Maybe we do need to look past OA, see what the future holds. Brothers leads us in interceptions for a second straight year, and a handful of players also got one. Didn't really talk about any sort of fumbles for us this year. We just had 2, Newsome and Edwards. Kicking wise, not as good of a year for Cole Ford. He actually missed 3 field goals. He also didn't have as many attempts across the board as he had in prior seasons. So what will behold this team as we move forward? As mentioned, we're going to start jumping through these seasons a whole lot quicker, and hopefully the plan is by the time next episode finishes, we will have seen all of the mainstays from this series retire. Some of the younger guys like Faust. And brothers, over here on the defense, probably the youngest guy that we have drafted, who's very much one of the main guys. We will see the careers of all of these players retire, see what they did become the end, and how many of them end up making the Hall of Fame. So if you enjoyed the first of the Futures episodes here, let me know down below. You could hit that bell icon on the bottom right, or scroll down, hit the sub button, and definitely tap that bell icon. And we will be back as the next typical upload for the Panthers franchise every single Monday, Wednesday, Friday, though that will be replaced shortly by a new series. Announcements on that to come. As long as you stick around, you will see it, and we'll see you next time as we wrap out some amazing careers.